Peter Pan is supposed to be the ultimate symbol of freedom, a boy who refuses to grow old, who lives forever in a world where imagination rules and responsibility doesn't exist. We've been sold this image for over a century. The smiling face, the green outfit, the promise that you never have to face the pain of adulthood. But what if I told you that Peter Pan wasn't born from joy? What if the entire story is actually a monument to grief so profound it warped reality itself? The man who created Peter Pan didn't write a celebration of youth. He wrote a psychological prison, and the children who walked into that prison, the real boys whose laughter filled those pages, they paid a price so devastating that some believe their story was cursed from the moment it was written. This isn't about Disney magic. This is about how childhood trauma can echo across generations, how obsession can masquerade as love, and how fiction sometimes predicts the future in the most horrifying ways possible. Scotland, 1867. A frozen pond. Two brothers skating. James Matthew Barry is 6 years old, watching his 13-year-old brother David glide across the ice. David is everything James isn't. Confident, athletic, adored. Their mother Margaret looks at David like he's the sun itself. Then, David falls. The accident happens the day before David's 14th birthday. One moment, he's laughing. The next, he's gone. But here's where this story stops being about normal grief and becomes something else entirely. Margaret Barry doesn't just mourn her son. She constructs a shrine to him in her mind. She locks herself in a darkened bedroom for months, speaking to the air as if David is still there. But the truly disturbing part, she finds comfort in a single thought that will poison everything that comes after. David will never turn 14 now. He'll never disappoint her, never rebel, never leave. He's perfect forever, frozen at 13, locked in eternal boyhood. And 6-year-old James, desperate for any scrap of his mother's attention, makes a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. He decides to become David. Imagine being a child and watching your mother love a dead son more than she loves you. Imagine knowing that the only way to earn her affection is to pretend to be someone else. James starts wearing David's clothes, even though they don't fit. He reads to Margaret in David's voice, mimicking his brother's accent and mannerisms. He performs this grotesque impersonation day after day, trying to resurrect his brother through his own body. It doesn't work. Margaret remains lost in her fantasy, occasionally acknowledging James, but never really seeing him. In her mind, her perfect boy exists somewhere beyond time, forever young, forever hers. The psychological damage this inflicts is catastrophic. James grows up, but not completely. His adult body stops developing at 5'3". His voice never fully deepens, remaining strangely high-pitched his entire life. When he marries actress Mary Ansell in 1894, the marriage becomes a 15-year experiment in emotional impossibility. Years later, Mary will reveal the truth that explains everything. The marriage was never consummated. Not once in 15 years. James Matthew Barry was psychologically and physically incapable of adult intimacy. His wife described him as a boy in a man's world, playing at being grown up but never actually arriving. He was trapped in the same prison he watched his mother build for David. Eternal childhood, whether you wanted it or not. And that prison had a name waiting to be discovered. Kensington Gardens, 1897. A 40-year-old man with a boyish voice and a massive St. Bernard dog approaches a beautiful woman and her 5 sons. The woman is Sylvia Llewellyn Davies. The boys are George, Jack, Peter, Michael, and Nicholas. This should be a harmless encounter. a lonely writer befriending a family. It doesn't stay harmless. Barry becomes obsessed. He visits constantly, bringing gifts, telling elaborate stories, organizing games that last for hours. The boys adore him. He's more playful than their own father, more imaginative, more willing to live inside fantasy. Their father, Arthur, is less thrilled. He watches this strange man integrate himself into his family, watching his sons call this outsider Uncle Jim, while barely acknowledging their actual father. But Barry doesn't stop. He fills notebooks with observations about the boys, recording their games, their dialogue, their mannerisms. Every pirate battle in the park gets written down. Every joke gets catalogued. In 1904, just 4 years after meeting them, Barry transforms these boys into a stage play. Peter Pan premieres to thunderous applause. The Davies boys sit in the audience watching themselves, fictionalized, romanticized, but recognizably themselves, perform on stage. They have no idea they're watching a prophecy. Here's where the story accelerates into nightmare territory. Arthur Llewellyn Davies dies in 1907. Cancer. Sylvia, now a widow with 5 boys, tries to maintain independence, but Barry is always there, always offering help, always inserting himself deeper into the family structure. Then Sylvia dies in 1910, also cancer. Before she dies, she writes a will naming her mother and brother as guardians. But when that will is read, something has changed. Barry claims Sylvia wanted him, Jimmy Barry, to raise the boys. He has documentation, he has proof. Many historians believe he forged it. With a widow's will and some creative handwriting, Barry acquires the 5 boys he's been obsessing over for a decade. They move into his home, suddenly orphaned, suddenly dependent on the man who turned their childhood into entertainment. The play has manifested into reality. The lost boys now live with Peter Pan himself, and there's no Neverland to escape to. The deaths start almost immediately. George, the eldest, enlists in World War I. He's killed in 1915 at age 21, exactly the age where boys stop being boys and become men. Michael, Barry's absolute favorite, starts having nightmares at Oxford. He writes letters describing dreams of drowning, of water filling his lungs, of being pulled under by invisible hands. He tells Barry he feels like something is waiting for him. In May 1921, Michael and his closest friend, Rupert Buxton, go to Sandford Pool, a section of the Thames locales called the Drowning Pool, because of how many young men died there. Both are weak swimmers. Both are fully clothed. Both walk into the water together at the deepest, most dangerous point. Their bodies are found the next day, clasped together. The official ruling is accidental drowning, but witnesses report they weren't struggling. They walked in calmly, deliberately, holding hands as they sank. Michael was 20 years old, 1 year away from full adulthood. Barry's diary entry that night is 8 words long. Michael gone. The world is empty now. Peter Llewellyn Davies, the boy who gave his literal name to the character, survives until 1960. But survival isn't the same as living. Peter spends his entire adult life trying to outrun his own name. He calls the play that terrible masterpiece and refuses to attend performances. He turns to alcohol when strangers recognize him and smile about Peter Pan. His own children report that mentioning the play would send him into violent rages. In April 1960, at 63 years old, Peter walks to Sloane Square Underground Station during morning rush hour. He throws himself under a train. His suicide note is recovered and contains one devastating line: "The Peter Pan business destroyed my life." Of the 5 Davies boys, 2 never made it past 21. 1 killed himself at 63. The remaining 2, Jack and Nicholas, lived in either complete silence about their childhood or defensive justification of Barry's behavior. 3 dead. 2. Psychologically shattered. The curse was complete. Here's what the animated version conveniently forgot to mention. In Barry's original 1911 novel, there's a single line that reveals everything. The boys were growing up, which is against the rules, so Peter thinned them out. Thinned them out, not sent them home, not found them new families. He eliminated them. Peter Pan isn't a protector of children. He's a collector who discards them when they stop being useful. The book also describes Peter's breathing as short and quick like an animal, and notes that his body periodically changes shape. These aren't descriptions of a magical boy, they're descriptions of something pretending to be a boy. And then there's the memory problem. Peter forgets everyone, constantly. Wendy returns to Neverland years later to find Peter has no memory of their adventures. Tinkerbell, who died saving him, is completely erased from his mind. The lost boys he thinned out. Gone from his memory the moment they died. Peter Pan isn't blessed with eternal youth. He's cursed with eternal amnesia, doomed to experience everything for the first time, forever, never forming real connections because his brain won't hold them. Barry didn't write a hero. He wrote a nightmare wearing a child's face. James Matthew Barry died in 1937, leaving the Peter Pan copyright to Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. On the surface, this seems generous, a beloved children's story funding sick children. But look closer at the symbolism, a story born from death, inspired by dead and dying boys, now funding the fight against childhood death. It's a monument to guilt disguised as charity. Peter Pan has generated billions of dollars in the century since its creation. It's been adapted, reimagined, sanitized, and sold to generation after generation of children who have no idea what they're actually consuming. They don't know they're watching a man's unprocessed grief wearing a costume. They don't know the real lost boys died young, just like their fictional counterparts. They don't know Peter Pan was never about the magic of childhood. It was a confession disguised as entertainment, written by a man whose trauma became a self-fulfilling prophecy. The next time you see Peter Pan fly across a screen, remember what he really represents. Not freedom, not adventure, not eternal youth, but the desperate wish of a broken man who watched his mother choose a dead son over a living one and spent the rest of his life trying to become that ghost. Peter Pan isn't a fairy tale. It's a warning about what happens when we refuse to let children grow up, and what happens when we worship youth so completely that we'd rather see it die than watch it change into something real. The curse wasn't in Neverland. It was always in the imagination of the man who created it, and the boys who inspired it paid the price.